Okay, so my apology about not having that conversation regarding the French election. I think it's a particularly important one, but if you could hear a little bit of what my guest was saying, to say it's a lot more complicated than just a Muslim Islamophobia issue. There's so much more. I think, understandably, so it's a predominantly Christian country. My point is just that the level of Islamophobia in the conversation amongst both candidates, I think, is something to be concerned about. Just to keep an eye on that regarding the election runoff that will take place this weekend between Emmanuel Macron, the incumbent, and then Le Pen, lady of Jean-Marie Le Pen. That's the daughter, of course. That's the Marine Le Pen, right? And we'll see what happens there. There is a sense, however, anecdotally, that more and more French Muslims, predominantly from North and West Africa, are increasingly dissatisfied and disillusioned with life in France because of the massive clampdowns on their religious liberties for a country that prides itself on, liberty, equality, and so on, democracy. You know that. We'll see where that goes. Right, let's talk to Ashraf Gangrekar. He's always fired up, and today a different take. He's going to be fired up for an important event that the African Muslims Agency will be hosting, and we're going to find out when in a moment. So, Ashraf, appreciate your time. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Ashraf, always good to be with you and to chat to you again. Yes, as you said this morning, I'd like to wear the hat of African Muslims Agency, please. So if you recall, yesterday we were speaking about compassion, Ashraf, and we said that compassion is to have a sense of feeling, but with action. And so I'm proud to sit here this morning with African Muslims Agency and say, well, we're going to present you with an opportunity for action, whether it is in Durban, as in, South Africa, or other communities in South Africa, 14 other countries around the world. So I'm not sure, Ashraf, if you're familiar how these pledge lines work on DSTV or, quite honestly, other platforms as well.
Well, you should be familiar. We've sort of co-hosted some of them, so
There
you
we
can
go.
recollect.
So that's
I think I
precisely.
know. Yeah,
I know
I
you're
think I know.
familiar, but I'm hoping your listeners know that you are familiar, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yes, that's precisely. We have done a number of times. So, African Muslims Agencies are having this tomorrow evening on on both channels 346 and 347. That's ITV and this new thing, Ramadan TV. And so I really want to encourage people. If I take yesterday's chat about feeling the sense of compassion, now let's do something. The whole spirit in Ramadan for Muslims with regards to charity, this is it. Because there are basically two things we're going to be looking at. And these are, in fact, as the Prophet tells us, the best of charities: feeding people and the provision of water. And I just want to highlight quickly two particular countries. Is obviously South Africa. I'm not going to, go on and beat that drum ad nauseum. But Mozambique, as much as we are seeing where we are at in Durban, Mozambique, for the first time in history, Ashraf, has been hit by three cyclones consecutively in
Yeah. Wow.
tropical storms in January, February, and March. The effect of that is to decimate the crops. And so people face starvation. And then two other places I want to look at, I've just mentioned quickly, is Lebanon. Having its government declare bankruptcy has left not just the Palestinian and Syrian refugees even more destitute, but the Lebanese people themselves. And then the last people I want to speak about is our teams are on the ground in Afghanistan, where quite honestly, everybody and everything is simply consumed and covered by war. And that's a reality in that particular country. And so we can help. And so I want people to tune in from about 9:30 tomorrow night. Whether you want to just, donate in your own name for loved ones who passed on, Sadaqah to Jariyah, Zakah, Lillah, whatever, just do something and feel good. We
Mm.
share the goodness for everybody else. Then quite honestly, that's the way. So African
And
Muslims Agency 346, 347 tomorrow night from 9:30.
okay, and I take it that you mentioned the two channels. The one is the pop-up channel, Ramadan TV. That the same pledge line will be running
Yes. It's quite
concurrently, right?
honestly,
So you're not getting two
yeah.
different pledge lines. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's exactly the same. It's got a bit of a unique event. We're in fact doing it from Cape Town, so it's going to be streamed onto both channels. So no matter where you're going to be, because I'm led to believe 346 is not on some of the bouquets or however DSTV is structured. And I want to say to you, You can go to our website as well. So people who don't have DSTV or maybe only streaming themselves can go on to our www.africamuslimsagency.co.za and watch it
Okay.
there. And importantly, not just watch, but pledge there.
All right. Now, I mean, you're quite right. Having hosted many of those pledge lines
Sure.
over the years, on the one hand, myself and you, of course, right, and then, of course, watching at other times, right.
Yeah.
I'm aware of the importance of these pledge lines for the host organization, in this case, African Muslims Agency, in being able to raise the type of monies that they require to fulfill their mandate for all those countries that
Sure.
you've just mentioned, right? I mean, no money, no mandate, you just can't do it, right? So,
Okay.
so how important is it? How much is what's the target? There must be an anticipation
Of
ahead of tomorrow
course, yeah,
night.
sure. And so, quite honestly, in terms of a target, just because what you are saying is 100% correct. Without the money, there is no mandate. We couldn't then be operating in the 14 countries across the world that we do. So, in terms of target, if you if you just pause and no matter where we're at, so I'm going to mention just again the chief countries, although as I said, we're all over the world, right? So let's say South Africa, Mozambique, Malawi, Afghanistan, Lebanon. Ashraf, we are hoping tomorrow to be able to, for 15,000 Rand, one is able to feed an entire village or community in those countries for one entire day. So that translates to close to 4,000 people. We are hoping to be able to raise that multiplied by 100. And so that, quite honestly, and it goes beyond Ramadan as well, feeding 15,000 Rand for 100 communities or villages, right? That's feeding for a day. Then the second thing that African Muslims Agency, everybody knows, is synonymous with is the construction of water wells. And so we'd like, at a cost of 14,500 Rand, raise money to build 40 water wells at our pledge line tomorrow.
Okay,
Those are
so
the
bottom line, people can give what they want, but
Oh,
ideally,
absolutely.
that 15,000 ring fence is a very clear directive. That 15,000 buys you something significant. So, family,
Absolutely.
not even one individual, a family of maybe 4 or 5 brothers or sisters could actually contribute
Absolutely. Yeah,
2,000
yeah,
on
yeah,
each
sure.
to get to that 15,000. Is what you're looking for, right? Anything
Ashraf,
else
is
you
that
want
exactly
to
how
tell
it
us?
works?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Anything else? Perhaps just in the minute or so we have remaining, share with us. What has happened in terms of the Africa Muslims Agency's ability to deliver on that mandate in the last few years? Because I have no doubt from the founder, which is the father of Chunara, compared to the
Yes.
sons, he's done incredible work over the years, right? But share with us what you know about how they've
So,
executed on that mandate.
no, it's this is the biggest thing, and this has been the greatest joy. It's been my privilege to be involved, maybe for increasing this over the past few years. This is the thing. The one thing that is in precisely that is the execution of the mandate. So, quite honestly, great Farid Junari established it. His sons Imran, Hussein, and Hassan have continued. And quite honestly, trust me, Ashraf, they've taken it to great heights, greater presence, and the biggest thing is the issue of credibility and legitimacy. They exist on the ground, and whatever is donated is implemented. So if somebody donates a water well, and I've been privileged, Ashraf, to travel in Mozambique, Malawi, gone to the refugee camps in Lebanon, the work is real. And I think, not in comparison to any other organizations, but what is different here is that African Muslims Agency has teams resident in Malawi, resident in Mozambique, resident in Lebanon and in Afghanistan, so that as funds come in, it's then translated or passed on to those people almost immediately. So the issue for me of credibility, legitimacy, and I'm going to say transparency, that for me is real. And so for me, African Muslims Agency this year, in fact, commemorates 35 years from the initial days of just making a small outreach into Africa, perhaps even a new idea. Ah, man, with Allah's mercy and guidance and the vision of, say, particularly Imran and the hard works of Hussein and Hassan, and in fact, the entire Amma family, it's grown from strength to strength. And here's the weird thing, Ashraf, in closing quickly. We all thought, with COVID, etc., and the financial constraints that we all find ourselves in, quite honestly, I think with those constraints, people have become more generous because there's the clear understanding that when we give, we will receive even more. And that's been wonderful. I mean, we were thinking, well, okay, no, great, things are going to get tough. It's in fact gotten better because people understand that in distress and in discomfort, charity sometimes alleviates what we are going through.
And the bottom line to all of this, I think about the Medina model extensively, about how
Absolutely.
the Prophet, the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, asked, requested to the people of Medina to assist in sharing their wealth with the people of Mecca, and those Meccans were refugees. They were displaced people, which is something we can all identify with, be it KZN today, be it anywhere in the world. So appreciate your time, Ashraf Gangrekar. So they were African Muslims Agency. Just Google them, you'll get their website. But more importantly, tomorrow the pledge line coming up on ITV 347, and then Ramadan TV, the pop-up channel 346, but otherwise streaming live on the African Muslims Agency website will get you there. And then make that pledge. Will I tune in? I think I will. All right, more to come. We'll talk about France right after this.